Hello, everybody. My name is Mitch Spears. I am CRO and co-founder at Fire Foresight, Common Sense Conferences. And this is another installment of the Icon series of podcasts where we talk to smart marketers and dig into some of the learnings and expertise that they have. Today, we have somebody I'm really excited about, Jay Schwedelson, who is CEO. Well, lots of things. He's the founder of subjectline.com, Guru Media Hub, and he's the CEO of Outcome Media. And he even finds time somehow to run the podcast, Do This, Not That. Jay, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm always excited to talk about all this stuff. So it's going to be fun.
Excellent. So let's jump right in. You run the largest email marketing conference in the world.
Mm-hmm.
So talk to me about how easily accessible AI tools are changing email marketing today.
Yeah, I love email marketing because I don't think there's a company on the planet that doesn't leverage it in some way. Certainly some are doing better than others. And AI is changing email kind of in two fundamental ways. One way is that everybody's turning to AI for content generation, help them to write newsletters, stuff on your website, social posts, whatever it is. A lot of your emails being written by AI. That's one piece of it, but because the pendulum has swung so much in that direction of AI generated content, the emails that are now the most successful and that we believe are going to continue to be the most successful are the ones that have the human tone, the newsletters that are written by a person that feel like it's coming from a person. So AI, although it's generating content for us, it's actually forcing our hand to create even better content on our own. So there's two different kind of ends of the AI game.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, and I see this myself, right? The flood of content in the form of newsletters and emails and websites and on, enabled by large language model type stuff out there, has generated and continues to generate a lot of excitement, but also a lot of noise.
Yes.
And I totally agree that it's forcing marketers to up their game or be buried.
Yes.
Because anyone who's relying on the output from ChatGPT and has, okay, all done, is going to disappear.
I'll take it a step further. What's going to happen, I think most business-to-business marketers don't realize, is that Apple in October is going to release iOS 18. And they're bringing a lot of changes to the mail app, which is the app on our phones where we read our mail. And well over 50% of all business-to-business email is read on that mail app. Doesn't matter what provider you use or who you are. And what's going to happen in iOS 18 within the mail app is that they are automatically going to be using AI to bucket the mail that's coming to you. And so any type of promotional mail or any brand mail that's coming in is going to go to this promotions tab. And that's a big change for Apple. But the email that's going to stay in the primary tab, because Apple doesn't have tabs until October, is going to be emails that are personal in nature. And that's why personal newsletters, even though you're a B2B marketer, newsletters coming from a human, as opposed to just your brand email, that will stay in the primary tab. So I think that it's going to force us, AI is going to force us to be more one-to-one, and I think email is going to change forever because of that.
What about email tools that suck up a lot of information from various sources to offer the promise of personalization at scale? Have you seen any of those tools or tried any of those tools?
There's a lot of tools that are out there. I mean, there's no shortage of AI tools and no shortage of companies saying that they're run by AI now and all this stuff. I will tell you that I think that marketers sleep on the most basic tools to get the most out of email. What do I mean by that? So on ChatGPT now, using the free version, right? You can go to ChatGPT. People don't really realize that you could upload images now to ChatGPT and have it analyze images. So you go to ChatGPT, there's that little paperclip icon right next to the prompt bar. And if you upload any email that you're thinking about sending out and say, ChatGPT, act like the greatest email expert in the world and break this email down for why you think it's not good, from call to action buttons to responsiveness to design to copy. And the goal of this email is to get downloads to this piece of content or attendees to this webinar or whatever it is. It will give you back an incredible an analysis of your email as if you just hired the greatest email consultants in the world. And I don't think enough B2B marketers are leveraging tools, the basic tools. Forget about the advanced tools like ChatGPT to up their email game.
That's fascinating. Yeah, and I actually heard, I was at an ADI dinner last night, and one of the people described something broadly similar to that, where they were using ChatGPT to reverse engineer better prompts.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
yeah, and
Same idea.
Kind of similar. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll take it one step further. How we also have leveraged it. So in my agency, we do a lot of demand generation campaigns for B2B marketers. And so we took 200 campaigns where we had run an A/B test, a test of one piece of email creative versus another. And we took 200 of these campaigns where we already knew the outcome. They were older campaigns. And we went to ChatGPT and we uploaded the A/B version of each campaign, creative 1, creative 2 of each campaign. And we asked ChatGPT for each campaign, which one do you think will do better? Okay, even though we already knew the outcome. And it predicted right on 88% of the campaigns that we uploaded, just by uploading both versions of the email creative. It predicted 88% right which one would do better. And you could do that with the free version of ChatGPT. You could literally upload 2 versions of emails that you're thinking about sending out and say, which one do you think I should use? And it's pretty darn good at predicting which one's going to get you a better response rate. So you can use the most basic tool out there and get a lot of value.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's fascinating. And I think that the lesson here is we need to get a little creative.
Yeah.
And get beyond just write me a blog post about X.
Right. That's exactly right. I know everyone goes there and they treat it like a search engine, which it's not. The more you ask of it, the more you can get out of it. Like I'll go to it and say, oh, me and my family are going on a trip to Chicago. We like deep dish pizza. We hate boring museums. We don't like driving more than 30 minutes. It was a 4-day trip. We need you to plan the whole thing. And the more detail you give it like that, it'll literally give you back your entire trip. You know what I mean? You just have to ask it a lot.
Yeah. And one of the things that I've learned in using ChatGPT for the last, I guess it's been close to a year now, is it rewards precision in language.
Yes.
English majors rejoice. We have a place, and I include myself among those, being able to articulate with precision what it is you want and what you don't want in a prompt makes those with a facility for language far more effective as prompt engineers than the vast majority of IT people who often are tasked with developing those prompts.
150%. Look, prompt engineers are a very sought after profession right now. And then the other thing about different basic AI tools is that people are sleeping on some of the functionality that some of the other free tools have. So for example, Gemini. If you go to Google's Gemini, which is gemini.google.com, what you can do on Gemini, you can't do on ChatGPT. So for example, let's say you didn't have time to attend a webinar. You could take a YouTube link, you can go on Gemini and say, hey, can you summarize this webinar? Or can you turn it into a blog post or 5 social media posts? Or can you tell me every stat that was mentioned in this webinar? And it will instantly do that, right? Because it can analyze websites. Along the same lines, you can go on Gemini and say, I'm in the business of selling accounting software, and I want to analyze the 4 biggest players in the marketplace. And you can say, all right, here's QuickBooks.com, FreshBooks.com, NetSuite.com, whatever it is, right? And can you analyze and make me a graphical table about pricing, go-to-market strategy, what industries they serve, and you go, and it can analyze websites. I don't think enough people are leveraging the capabilities of some of the free tools that are out there.
Exactly right. And of course, that's an arbitrage opportunity for lots of startups to sell you something that you could have gotten for free by yourself with a little digging.
That's absolutely right. 100%.
So what do you think with all of this in mind, plus a whole bunch more that we haven't talked about yet?
Yeah.
Where is email marketing going to be in 3 years' time?
Well, of course, everyone will say email is dead, as it's been killed off, I think, 4 billion times.
It died like 15 years ago, right?
Yes. Look, to me, your email list is the most valuable asset you have in your company, because forget about social media followings and algorithms and search engine optimization, all this stuff. It's the one thing that you can communicate with your audience with at any moment to your entire population, right? So to not invest time into growing that is really a huge mistake. I think email is going to get a lot harder. I think the changes coming to Apple, and all this AI generic content that we're pumping out is going to make email harder to stand out. So I think people are going to be sending out more email, not less, which is going to add to being difficult to stand out. So really being able to differentiate yourself, have a brand persona, have a person within your organization that people know where you're building personal brand around, someone within your business. I think this is the future of email, but it ain't going anywhere. That much I know.
So as the noise increases and the need for really spectacularly well-crafted and personalized email copy becomes more and more important, how do you scale that?
It becomes difficult to scale, right? But I think attention to the smallest things matter. People will be like, well, email doesn't work for us. And I'm always like, well, you got to focus on the smallest, littlest thing. I'll give you an example. So we have a website called subjectline.com where people go and they check their subject line, tells them how to write a good subject line. And marketers oftentimes just don't think about the subject line. But you could do small things in the world of B2B that change the game. So, for example, if you put the person's title or function that you are marketing to in the subject line, it will increase the percentage of people opening up that email by about 25%. Meaning, if you said, just for CIOs, or most CMOs need to know this, right? Telling the person who they are in that subject line can radically change the outcome. And that's the case for all of email marketing. So as you have to scale up what you're sending out, thinking about your call to action buttons, the timing of your emails, their subject line, not saying really boring stuff like webinar, which can really turn people off immediately. This is how you win an email, is attention to detail.
Yeah. And the subject line is something that I have a love-hate relationship with. And because it is, I mean, subjectline.com is a great resource, because trying to figure out how to do it, just on the fly, really hard.
Yeah.
And really frustrating when you A/B test subject lines and the one that you are absolutely sure cannot be the best win.
Right. Always. It's Murphy's Law. That should be a good subject line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So email marketing is going to continue, but it's going to continue to get harder.
Yes.
And companies and marketing departments, unwilling or unable to put that level of skill and work against the problem, are going to find email marketing to yield less and less over time, I'm thinking.
Yeah, I think that what happens is marketers make the mistake of saying, you know what, our email's not working, so we're going to send out less. I think the problem is we're sending out too much, right? This is like this knee-jerk reaction to poor performance in email, which I think is completely the wrong way to think about email. If your email's not working, it's not because you're sending out too much, it's because you're sending out irrelevant garbage. So thinking about what you're sending, being super relevant, that allows you to actually even send out more. And I think the biggest mistake in the world of B2B email marketing is that people think that you go to the junk folder because you're getting lots of unsubscribes, or you go to the spam folder because you're sending too much email or whatever. It's the exact opposite. We used to live in a world where if you put the word free in your subject line, or you use exclamation mark, that would be trigger a spam trigger thing, and you go to junk folder. That's an old wives' tale. That doesn't exist anymore. That's not the reason. The reason you go to the junk folder, the spam folder now, is because of engagement. If you don't have enough people opening and clicking on the emails you're sending out, they're receiving email infrastructure like, ooh, this isn't a good sender. Let's put them in the junk folder or the spam folder. And so the irony is, if you don't send out enough email, you can't generate enough opens enough clicks, so you wind up in the junk folder. So B2B marketers, I think they're going to send less, and that's going to be their path to success. You're actually hurting yourself. You just need to be more relevant, and that is how you're going to win with email as things get more complicated.
Better targeting, more
Yes.
nuanced, and
Yes.
then making sure that you're taking advantage of the work that you've done to identify those really good fits with personalized copy that actually
Yes.
matters to them.
Absolutely. Spot on. Totally agree.
Yeah, that's the world we've been living in, and what we've been preaching for years.
Yep.
It's hard to do.
Yeah, it is. It is hard to do. And it takes effort. But you know what? Don't do it if you're not going to do that. Right? Just getting something out is not it. That is not a path forward. I hate when people check a box, especially like even like social media. All right, did we get something on LinkedIn this week? Did we get out our email newsletter this week? Who cares what it is, what it says, or how good it is? Just check the box that it got done. That is a recipe for epic failure, and don't do that.
Let me ask you about a certain kind of email use case, which is the dreaded nurture queue,
Yeah.
nurture campaign.
Yeah.
Where do you see that work?
So nurtures are okay, not great. I would say most times email workflows and nurture campaigns are garbage. I'll tell you what you need to do. You need to audit your nurture campaigns and make sure that there's nothing in there that's timely. The biggest mistake people make is like, okay, they'll take their 2024 Outlook guide, and then they'll be sitting there in September, and that's still firing off in some sort of a workflow. You do more damage to your brand by seeming outdated, at seeming like you are not paying attention to your workflow, by that firing off than someone actually responding to it. You're hurting your brand by having these automations. So I'm a big believer in evergreen, because you may think you'll be able to keep up with your workflows and you'll be able to make sure everything's timely, but you won't. Some people's job will change, somebody's responsibility it was is gone, and you won't. So really get very real with yourself and make sure your workflows are good for today and 6 months from now, because the odds of you being able to go in and tweak everything is just unrealistic, in my opinion. And then insert yourself into the workflows. You can't just turn it on and just like, yeah, we're going to get a bunch of leads. It's going to happen. It's going to be awesome. That's ridiculous. You need to handhold people. You still need to be involved. I don't care how big your company is. So I have like a love-hate with automation.
Yeah. Automation encourages the already bad habit of laziness among marketers.
Absolutely right. It's a crutch that does not help.
Yeah. And in fact, we've come to the conclusion at Buyer Foresight that instead of doing we produce a lot of events, mostly small thought leadership roundtables for our clients, and we often get the response from the attendees, hey, how do I keep in touch with these guys?
Yeah.
And these days the answer is, well, join the community. Our client has a community.
Yeah.
An event we're doing for ourselves, join our community. And then, right, and then the hard part is, well, then you actually, if you own that community, you've got to be in there every day paying attention to what happens. But if some of those people who join the community are, even if they're not in market today, especially if they're not in market, in fact, pushing value to them in the community is so much more valuable than an automated nurturing email campaign, in my opinion. So that's where we see nurture campaigns going, where I'm trying to push nurture campaigns in our organization into, let's talk in the community. Gather with all those smart people you met at that roundtable last night, and let's continue the conversation here. And oh, by the way, here's some new research we're working on. By the way, we've got this summit coming up next month. Maybe you're interested. It's just so much more organic and valuable than robotic emails.
I think good communities are great things. Very hard to pull off, as you know. And consistency and showing up and providing value in those communities is everything. I think, and you know better than I do, but I think that the majority of communities fail. They start out great, but ultimately they don't make it all the way through because there's not enough continuous energy. So I commend you guys for doing that, because there's a lot of value there. but it ain't easy.
No, definitely not. So you put on an event,
Yeah.
figured,
Right.
and there's a lot of uh, conversation happening. I imagine that a lot of education sessions, a lot of interaction that's happening.
Yes.
How do you capture some significant fraction of information that's just floating around everywhere during an event? Do you have a way of doing that?
You mean like statistical information, like how many chats there were, you paid attention to this session, and all that?
That, or even qualitative information, like lots of people seem to be focused on X, or I kept hearing this.
Yeah, for sure. So I'll give you an example. So one of our events is Guru Conference, which is a virtual conference. It's about email marketing. We'll have probably around 25,000 people at that event this year, so it's pretty large. So because we do it at scale, we are able to obviously see who's attending the different session topics, and that gives us a really good roadmap of people interested in. And then we do this whole kind of this word search thing where we see what people are talking about in the comments, and we aggregate that information to see directionally what people are into, and then we do a lot of post-conference polling and surveying and all of that. But it's really about sharing the latest information we possibly can. We try to have every session be very, very the latest and greatest, the newest stuff. But so like to your point earlier, sometimes we'll have sessions we think are going to be the best ones, the most attended, and nobody cares. Yeah. So that's why you got to try everything.
And we're big believers in going to the community and asking them, right? What do you care about? And sometimes that's a hard question to answer, right? You put me on the spot, blank piece of paper. Okay, what's your pain point? I'm not going to expend that mental energy. But if you make it a multiple choice question, hey, we're thinking about topic A, B, and C. Which of these do you like and why? Oh, that one. Okay. Oh, that one.
Smart.
It works better to leverage the community in that way, we found.
Yeah.
So this is Jay, this has been really a fascinating conversation, and I'd like to do it again.
Sure.
And I want to really thank you for the insights and the ideas, especially. I mean, lots of ways of leveraging generative AI that I was not really aware of, that you brought out for everybody. So thank you so much for that. I definitely encourage everyone to go visit Jay's properties at subjectline.com to check out the email virtual conference that he runs every year. There's clearly a lot of value there. So I thank you for sharing some of that with our audience today.
Well, I really appreciate being here, and this is a fascinating conversation, and look forward to doing it again.
Excellent. Thanks very much, Jay. Bye, everybody.